It is time for an Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth. Jason Bristol, Jeremy Booth. Jeremy back from his... What happened there?
Okay.
It's kind of like the Astros offense.
Up and down.
Up and down, baby. Hey, you mentioned something last week about Alex Cintron, and eventually he might start feeling some heat from Astros fans.
Eventually?
Okay. Let me ask you this. And I know you don't get to watch every single at-bat of every single game, but if you are the hitting coach for the Astros right now, what are you telling these guys? And is it geared more towards the younger players? And are you steering clear of giving too much information to, say, a guy like Christian Walker, who's been a big leaguer and a productive one for years?
I don't believe in a blanket culture. And what we've got is in the big leagues a blanket culture of how we're going to hit.
Like hit strikes hard?
Like that too, which didn't work either. Funny how the Yankees have done well since that philosophy has left the building. But that's a minor league philosophy. And when you install organizational philosophies, you install them in the minors first. Because by the time guys get to the big leagues, they have an idea what they're trying to do, and they have to be completely different hitters than they were in A-ball. So if you want to turn that approach into something that plays to win championships, you have to have years of installation. The Astros have taken an approach that reminds me of the Baltimore Orioles in the 80s, reminds me of the Oakland A's in the early 2000s and late 90s. They just want to take a lot of pitches. Okay? When I was in college, I had a coach named Rocky Ward. And Rocky Ward is the son of the legendary Gary Ward.
Yes.
Okay? Rocky.
Oklahoma State.
Yes. Rocky was one of the best hitting guys that ever been around. More importantly for Rocky, he had a way of delivering his message. And the best part about all that, was that he knew how to connect it to each individual player. Rocky and I had a relationship, still have the relationship, where it really became about how he let me be me, which is any given day a interesting personality, and then he let me he knew how to rein me in, but he got me to buy into what he wanted me to do. But he never ever said don't swing the bat. There was a plan, but you don't take pitches to hit. And what I see the Astros doing is taking pitches to hit and swinging in bad situations with the wrong approach, meaning at the major league level, something Trinidad Hubbard taught me years and years and years ago.
You had lunch with him recently.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of stuff we talked about years ago triggered. He told me this in 1999. We talked about pull counts, talked about fastball counts, talked about go the other way counts, what pitches to hit in certain spots, how to pick apart a zone. I had Ozzie Canseco and Jose Canseco tell me this stuff. I had Trinidad Hubbard tell me stuff. Thad Bosley. I had a lot of really good hitting coaches teach me about how to go ahead and do that as far as what the approach could be or should be. And there are times in a major league game that you're going to give up at bats to get to other at bats. It's going to happen that way, right? At the end of the day, if you're 2 for 4 and it's the right 2 for 4 in the right situation, it's a good night. That's a good night, okay? And we've gotten away from that. We're looking for, I want to take a pitch, just take a pitch. And we want to swing it because I just want to If you're going to do that, you have to start in the minor leagues and reinforce that. And so the Astros have gone from Alvarez hitting second and a huge debate on X, which I don't see any debating going on this year, okay? Alvarez hitting second to we're taking pitches every inning as much as we can get. The goal is to get a major league pitcher or any pitcher to 20 pitches an inning. That's the goal, right? Why? Because after 5 innings, they're done, which means you want to get into the bullpen, right? Big league pitchers know that too. So they're going to come at you with something to throw for a strike, and they don't just pitch in the big leagues because they throw 1 pitch for a strike or even 2 pitches for a strike. They are going to work counts and get you to come out of your zone if you take pitches to hit. And the Astros are paralyzed a little bit. They're swinging backwards. Now, it doesn't mean they can't fix it. But Alex has to get in there and say, stop it, go hunt an area, and if it shows up in an area, swing the bat. That's
regardless of what the count is.
That's how you take pitches. Hitting in the big leagues, hitting in professional baseball, okay? The guys that do it well, and I'm qualifying it like that because a lot of different styles, okay? The guys that do it well either hunt pitch or they hunt location. You can't hunt both, okay? Pitch or location. at the major league level, you can hunt pitch tempo because you're going to get something soft and you're not. And if a guy's got a dominant pitch, you're getting it in the at bat, right? So you can hunt stuff like that, but you can't hunt location because they're usually too refined in command. In the minor leagues, you can hunt location all day because it's going to show up in a certain area. If it misses an inch that way, you hit it. Okay. Astros got to decide what identity they want. The offensive identity at this point in time, believe it or not, should be location. You look out over the plate, and whatever shows up, you swing. Period. If ball's inside right now, take it. Take it. Ball's out over the plate, swing it. And then once you have your barrel to baseball feel, once you have your mechanics right, then you can go back to being more selective. Until then, you're giving away outs. And not everybody can hit 220 and expect you to win. That can't happen.
Are we surprised at the slow start by Christian Walker? I know there's an adjustment period, but I'm just, and maybe it's that classic new contract, new team trying to do too much. That storyline has been written about for decades upon decades upon decades, but we're just over the Jose Abreu line in a lot of metrics. And certainly he is much better defensively. So right there, he is a better fit for this team because of what he can do with the glove. But I'm a bit surprised that he has not started out well. Are you?
No. League switch, different division in a league. He hasn't spent a whole lot of time in the AL West. It's the NL West. I say this. Every team's got a position that's cursed. Yes, I'm saying it. Okay. For the Seattle Mariners, any guess what position that might be? It's not center field, right?
First base?
No, it's catcher.
Catcher.
Yeah. Catchers have been cursed.
Okay.
The one they got
after Dan Wilson, you're saying they've been cursed?
Mess. You had Eric Munson, right?
Yeah.
Didn't work out. You had Zunino, who got good when he left Seattle, got better there. You've had some players back there that haven't stuck, a lot of spare parts.
That sounds like a separate podcast. Which positions are cursed for each team?
So since the Astros had Berkman and Bagwell, right? Who's played first base? Brett Wallace, swing and a miss.
Yuli was pretty good.
Converted guy. I'm going somewhere with that.
Okay.
Breu, swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Who was it before Breu? Yuli. Converted guy. Who was it before Yuli?
It was a mixture of guys.
That's my point. Okay. The Astros seem to have success with guys that move over there that have versatility and they just play there. Okay. They don't seem to have success with guys you plop down at first base and just do it. Brady was good with the glove too. At least he was supposed to be. Right. Walker he's the right signing. Whether or not that's going to work in Houston, I don't know. He's got 2 Hall of Famers ahead of him in Astros lore, like, in recent memory, Bagwell and Berkman both. And when Berkman got to the big leagues here, he played the outfield because Bagwell was playing first base. But after Bagwell moved and retired, where did Lance go play? First base, right? So I say that because I think there's a little bit of baggage you got to shake off over here, and sometimes it's karmic. Sometimes it's just nothing you can explain. The guy can hit, and he came to Dyken Park and forgot it, how to. So let him play a little bit. Let's let him work through the cobwebs and see what happens.
I looked at his career numbers. He is typically a slow starter. When you look at April and March over his career, 148 games, he slugs 422, OPS of 738, batting average of 231. His best months, June and August. June and August are his best months. Over 800 OPS, both of those months. He does a little bit better in May, but I'm not worried. I am a little bit surprised because Minute Maid / Dyken is such a strong hitter's park, or should be, especially for right-handed hitters with the short porch. I'm just surprised that he hasn't gotten off to a faster start. Now, to answer your question about the first base abyss, I have pulled it up. So we had Bagwell, obviously, from 91 to 2004, Lance Berkman from 2005 to 2010, and then We have Brett Wallace in 2011. Carlos Lee.
I left him out on purpose.
Chris Carter.
It's over 3.
And I think in 16, Marwin got most of the starts.
Right. Converted guy.
Marwin Gonzalez. And then Gurriel goes from 17 to 2022.
Converted guy.
And then Abreu. And then last year, when you look at the most starts at first base, it's John Singleton.
And how'd that go?
He's currently playing for the Syracuse Mets.
Oh.
By the way, speaking of first basemen, sorry. I happened to look up Seth Beer the other day. Why don't you get closer to the mic?
I'm sorry. I was basking in my own
Seth
glory.
Beer recently signed with the Long Island Ducks of the
Kidding me?
Atlantic League. Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm going to end up seeing him this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Here's something.
Noah Naylor.
Naylor.
Bo Naylor, Seth Beer. Who wants that one back?
Hey, congratulations when you are talking about Bo Naylor, Noah Naylor. You have another big leaguer on your resume now, Zac Veen.
Yep, Dr.
Zac
Veen.
Veen.
Dr. Veen.
Called up by the Colorado Rockies. I've pulled up his scouting report that you guys put together. You saw it, right?
Is my name on that?
There is no name on it.
That means I wrote it.
Okay. He was the Rockies' first-round pick in 2020, number 9 overall. Port Orange, Florida, Spruce Creek High School.
Yeah, Johnny Goodrich actually coached him there.
Orlando Scorpions.
Yes, who also coached him with the Scorpions. But Johnny is the head coach there, and Johnny was the one that brought him to my attention. We had him before he became famous. It wasn't long before he became famous. It was fast after that, but we had him right at the tip when he was hiding in plain sight. Zach's a great kid. He's no longer a kid. He's a grown man. For me, they're all kids, right? Because they're just it's what it is. But Zach I got to see Zach in the Futures game out there. I walked right up on the field. I was standing with Tony Clark and Eric Davis, and he looks at me, does a double take. I'm like, yeah. Big hug, and I'm happy for him.
Do you believe that the numbers that you've assigned him still, this was back in 2019, do you think the future numbers that you assigned him are still pretty accurate?
Turn around, let me see it.
Okay. This makes for not so great television.
It's all right. No, it's okay. Okay, I didn't write that.
Okay.
That is
that a compilation? Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You got to use it.
That's an absolutely exceptional look at it.
Yeah.
So let me see the hit tool.
Yeah. Hit tool was a 65 future. Is that
a little bit later, a little bit less? I had him at Sean Green. That was my comp.
Ooh.
I thought he was Sean Green. So I don't know how far it scrolls down, but I had
I don't think it goes.
I don't disagree. Yeah. Plus offensive prospect. They cut it off at ceiling. Yeah. So the summations aren't in there, but no, I had him at Sean Green, and I don't think those are wrong for Sean Green. I don't think he's a 40 home run guy. But
being in Colorado,
could be. That says 40 home runs on there. When you're at that type of power,
yeah,
that's 40. Do I think it's 70 raw? Without question. Do I think he's a
raw and then game usage is different?
55-ish. Do I think it's a 60 bat? Probably. In the end, 60 bat for those guys at home is about 290. So if he hits 290 and 25, I'll take it. 290 and 30, that's a major league all-star.
Think what that's on the open market.
Absolutely.
So do you know how many big leaguers this is now for you? Or have you lost 10?
I think we're 10. Yeah. 10. With some other guys right there. Guys need to stay healthy and burst through. Ricky Tiedemann's not going to take long for Toronto. Adam Macko's not going to take long for Toronto. We've got Tink Hence.
Yep.
Stays healthy. Let's see, Petey Halpin. He's going to be up pretty soon for Cleveland. Gilbert can get up if he stays healthy. Drew will be up pretty fast for the Mets. Yeah, that class, that all group is arriving. Harris is in the big leagues, and Silas Sardoin's not going to take long either. He's a backup, but he's not going to take long.
How about the kid from Oakland?
Which one? Soderstrom? Turn it up. I said, look, Tyler,
Did you see that coming? Or is that
I always thought Tyler could hit. Like that's what he could do. I remember seeing Tyler as a sophomore. Funny thing about Tyler is I saw Tommy Troy and Tyler Soderstrom at the same event, NorCal World Series, and I was like, who's that? Right? And Tyler wasn't, again, famous yet. Neither was obviously Tommy. They were known. They weren't famous. Not much known outside of NorCal. And then Soderstrom, we invited him to Fenway, and he went off. USA picked him up, perfect game, All-American, all the extra stuff that's in there. Not that they're extra, they were just not first. We were first. And then Tommy Troy, the way it got to Tommy Troy was Tyler's dad said, hey, are you good if Tommy Troy, Steve Soderstrom said, are you good if Tommy Troy comes? And I was like, pitcher. Yeah, is he around? Because Tommy's a Stanford commit. And I was like, that dude's Brett Boone. Yeah, bring him, right? And I ended up with both of them. It was pretty good, say the least. Soderstrom can absolutely rake. It's just a matter of getting at bats. He's in a good place to do it. Max Muncy was in the big leagues with him as well. I think he's still there. Max is an interesting kid. He's made to play the game. We'll see what happens over time. But Soderstrom can hit. And he's probably in the right spot defensively, And so he's got some good guys in Oakland. He's got Kotze. He's got Darren Bush. He's got Eric Martins. He's got the right staff around. I know all those cats. He's got the right guys around him to turn around and be productive. So good for him.
I also find this interesting, and obviously the NFL draft is approaching next week.
Yeah.
We met here in Houston with GM Nick Caserio. He sits down and takes our questions, and he provided an opening statement. And there was something he said that I thought was very interesting, and I should have asked him about it, but I'm curious what you think from a baseball standpoint, what it means, because I have an idea what I think it means. He talked about the depth of this draft. The question was, are you confident that you can get a good player at 25? Because they're obviously way back in the draft. For now, could change. He said, we feel good about the players. Our board is probably smaller than some other boards, and that's okay. There will be players to pick on Thursday, players to pick on Friday. Honestly, there will be players for us to pick on Saturday that we feel good about. Going to get a good player if we pick at 25. If we don't pick at 25, then wherever we pick next, we think we're going to get a pretty good player. What stood out to me was our board is smaller, probably smaller than some other teams.
Yeah.
I take that. I think you could take it many different ways. I took that as because we probably have we don't have a lot of open spaces on our team. And if we don't think that this guy or a guy, say we're picking in the 7th round and there's no one left on our board, we're happy to trade that pick and trade it for a 2026 draft pick because there's no one left on our board that we think can make our team this year or is worth the developmental time. How do you take that? Am I wrong? Am I off on that?
Football is different because there's no minor leagues. So you have to be able to contribute somewhere right away. Are you going to play every day as a rookie? Probably not. Some guys do. Are you going to get meaningful snaps? Potentially. Are you going to be on the practice squad? Definitely. Are you depth piece? Also probably, also definitely somewhere in there. You're going to contribute and be part of the future, but you have to be able to help right now. Okay. The top of the draft, meaning the first round or the second round in the NFL, those guys have a chance to play right away. Right. And so if you're taking somebody there, you're going to find a piece that you think is going to plug in. In baseball, some of your best players come from pick 20 back.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guys that go up at the top of the draft and you're like, I don't, and there's a lot of guys that we had that, well, let me say another one. A lot of guys I had somewhere along the line that I did not advance to the bigger stuff because I was just like, I'm not interested. The industry is going to take you 3, 5, 2, 1. Something's off, right? Usually, this is where I get to say what I really like to say. Usually, it had to do with guys that were anointed as stars, superstars, immediate guys who were going to be impact guys, top of the draft, played in every certain circuit of events that you could think of.
Because they were putting up big numbers and crushing home runs at the age of 13?
And I did that, and I know how it worked out for me. Okay? And so I look at that as being the prospects, and I look at that as the growth. And if a guy is a dude, an automatic top of the, if everybody's saying so, run. Because he's not the guy in baseball. He's not the guy. He's the consensus, everybody likes him guy. He's not the guy. Proof. Kevin Gausman was a guy who was a hot button topic. Now, he was still going to go in college at top of the first round, but if guys were sure about him in high school, he's going to go in the top of the first round. But even then, there were debates in every draft room in 2012 about who was going to take him, and nobody was sure the Orioles were going to do it at 4 until we got into that day. Correa went 1, which was a surprise to everybody with the Astros. Buxton went 2, which surprised nobody. Zunino who went 3, which surprised nobody because that was Mac's guy. And then it was who they going to take, and they took Gausman. Now, nothing against Mike Zunino, but I liked Gausman. I wanted Gausman. I'm on the record with that, and it's not a Zunino thing. I loved Gausman. Gausman's still pitching? Zunino's still playing? Okay. I say that because that guy had so much upside with what he could do and grow that if you take that guy out of high school, he's probably 25 to 40. You know what I'm saying? And that's the guy that moves on down the line. Ricky Tiedemann, 3rd-round pick. Tommy Troy, undrafted in high school, right? 12th out of college. Those are the guys you get excited about. He still didn't go 1 or 2. He's going to get to big league so fast, you know? And there's guys like Elijah Dukes, and I'm just using him as an example, and Drew Jones and guys like that who just aren't necessarily performing, you know? So, but they're anointed by certain groups. So if guys are anointed by certain groups, I have a tendency to sprint the other way.
But you're not including like the Steven Strasburgs and players like that. I mean, that's not in the same category as what you're talking about.
No, because those guys are college #1 picks who usually make it.
So you're talking high school. Okay.
On high school. And I am talking college when it comes to a guy like well, here's one, Jacob Berry at LSU, 6th pick in the country. A lot of guys were concerned, right? Here's another one, went 4th out of Vanderbilt with Oakland now. J.J. Bleday, all right? I mean, some of these guys are way up the board. Also Marlins pick, way up the board. And you're like, and they don't turn out. Or the guy that's in Long Island right now, Seth Beer, who had historic production. And I'm gentle on that because when you understand what they're looking at, I was way hard, and I'm still very critical compared to Noah. I remember saying on camera at the time, Noah's right behind Seth. They're gonna have to live with that pick forever. That's gonna be one that's gonna be judged on. And sure enough, Noah's got 200 games in the big leagues and going. He's catching a premium position, and Seth's in Long Island. I played in Long Island. You know, it's got brand new turf, great ballpark. It's got some good stuff, upgrades going into it, but I still play there.
Go to the website. It goes quack, quack.
Quack, quack. That's right. So I say that again, you know, football's different. You have to contribute right away. In baseball, you get excited from 20 back. In football, you get nervous.
Drew Jones right now in Hillsboro, A+, that's
high A now, right?
High A, yeah. A+. Hitting 367 in 11 games with a 855 OPS. Last year, struck out a lot, 132 times in 109 games. Still hit 275 with a OPS of 814, and he's 21 years old. So we'll see.
In Hillsboro last year too? That sounds like a repeat level.
No, he was in Visalia last year.
Oh, so they bumped him up.
So he's up, yeah.
So he struck out 132 times in Visalia, and we believe he's not going to do that in A-ball, in high A.
Also walked 85 times.
Okay, so we struck out 132 times in Visalia, and we don't think he's going to do that again in Hillsboro.
He's at 16 strikeouts in 11 games. Again, he's got 5 walks though, so he's
it's 3-1 the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the other way. So, that's my point. I don't take that as a win. This is a guy who was the 2nd pick in the country. Now, he did get hurt for a year. I understand, right? But that was the same draft as Cam Collier and Tamar Johnson and some other players. And he's just an example. Elijah Dukes? Not Elijah Dukes. What's the guy's name? Kid out of Florida. Dad played for the NFL in the Nationals. You know what I'm talking about. Elijah Green. I was out entirely, frankly. Athleticism through the roof. Was not on it. I don't know how he's doing, but it ain't great.
All right, everybody. We've taken a trip down Major League Baseball and NFL draft lane. You around next week?
I am.
All right. Until next time, please leave your comments, concerns, questions, everything in the comments section below. For Jeremy, I'm Jason. And as always, thanks for watching Extra Baseball.